Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Are you looking for a small D8 radio, or are you just looking to get in a hobby and you want a really basic, very inexpensive radio to get into the hobby? Well, the BetaFPV LiteRadio2 radio might be the one for you. Let's take a closer look at this radio. There you go, that's really close for you. That's fine, I'm kidding, that's not what I meant. Okay, so the BetaFPV radio, this is a very small little D8, D16 OpenTX capable radio. It's pretty versatile, comes with really nice little stick ends. They're kind of on the sharp side. I do like it. I do like the way they feel. It is, like I said, it is a D8 or D16 radio. It has OpenTX. It has a trainer port. It connects to your computer for simulator purposes. It ticks all the boxes. Only thing is, there's really no graphical interface here, but connecting it to your PC while using the OpenTX companion program will be the way that you set this thing up. Not that you really need to do that. This thing is pretty much set up, ready to go outside of the box. Only thing you have to do is bind it to your model and go. You're not going to be able to do access for Frsky. You're not going to be able to do ACCST 2.0 with this because it's not an official Frsky product, but maybe down the road someone will figure out how to crack the code on that stuff so you can update the internal XJT module inside of this guy. But in the hand, this is a very good feeling radio. I don't know if it's going to work well for pinchers. I used to be a pincher. Most radios coming out kind of favor thumbing, so I have adapted my style to thumbing. This is definitely a thumber's radio. Feels really nice. It reminds me of the Frsky X-Lite series, but it's a little bit smaller and it's a little bit lighter. It does have quite a bit of heft to it. The switches are nice and short, they're pretty stiff, so you don't really have to worry about inadvertently knocking one. On the back here, you have 4 switches. You have two position switches and 2 3-position switches. Something to note is you don't have trim switches, so if you're planning on binding this to a fixed wing, this is probably not going to be the radio for you because there's no way to trim out your model in flight. This one comes set up as mode 2. It's very easy to switch from mode 2 to mode 1, but you'll need to do some hardware changes inside of this, and you also have to get into the OpenTX companion app to make some software changes. On the bottom here, we have the old style micro USB, and you have what looks like a 3.5mm headphone jack. That is for the trainer port. I do wish that this came out of the top. That way you could hook it up to your computer for a simulator without having the cable wrapped underneath. That tends to put a lot of stress on the connector and the cable, and they do tend to fail pretty easily. So you just gotta be really careful with that. I would probably put this on here and I don't know, put like a rubber band around it for some strain relief or something if I were to use this for a simulator. But this is probably the best. If you're looking to just get into the sim racing, this is probably the best option for you as far as sim racing goes. Because of its cost, size, and versatility. The gimbals, they're a little bit shorter throw. They're probably about the same throw as the X-Lite. They feel pretty good. I mean, for what it's worth, or for what this thing costs, these are actually really nice feeling gimbals. It is very smooth. They have very consistent linear tension in all directions, and they are adjustable. The radio does come with a power source. It comes with a BetaFPV 2-cell 350 milliamp lipo. I really don't think you're gonna be able to fit more than just this lipo in here. It's a pretty cramped power bay, and it doesn't really last all that long. I would probably recommend getting an extra one of these if you plan on flying a lot with this guy. So one of the great things that they thought about with this is it does support USB charging, so you don't have to hook this up to your lipo charger to charge it. All you have to do, plug in your USB port, and boom, it will charge this battery up for you.
Hey folks, Tweet from the future here, and this radio killed itself sitting in my bag for a couple days. So it has a 350 milliamp lipo, and while it's off, it consumes 0.8 amps of power. This gives us about 437 hours of standby time with a completely full battery, which means theoretically 18 days and this radio will completely drain this battery. So unplug it when you're not using it.
So let's go ahead and let's get inside of this thing and take a look at it. Figure out why it feels so good and what's on the inside. I always like to tear apart. I like to tear apart my toys. My parents hated it. So you have 8 screws to remove. Come on, get out. So there are 8 screws to remove. There's 3 in each handle and 1 or 3 on each handle side and 1 in the charging bay or the battery bay. So get those apart and there you go. Opens right up. Pretty simple layout. It's a very clean board, very well done. There is a little bit of schmoo right here. Looks like a leftover flux possibly. Oh no, that's just marker. So that looks pretty good. Now if you wanted to change this from mode 1 to mode 2, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to take this tensioning bar, you're gonna have to move it over to this side and remove this spring right here, and then you're gonna have to go into OpenTX and set this thing up. So in my testing, I found the range was very adequate. It's not as good as something, say, like the X9 Lite with a external antenna like that, because this does use a PCB-based antenna. As you can see, it's right there. PCB-based antennas, they're very versatile as far as mounting goes, but unfortunately, the gain on them is not quite like that of a standard antenna. But this radio does make it very easy to remove the antenna and put in an SMA for a regular style antenna. All you have to do is pop off this UFL, drill a small hole through the case, remove the old antenna, and go ahead and install your external antenna. But be very careful to make sure that antenna is connected every time you turn this radio on. If this thing transmits without an antenna, the RF energy will be reflected back into the board and it could very easily damage it. But as you can see in here, pretty basic setup. And the reason why this radio feels so much better than it really should be is because of this. Look at that. They just glued some weights into the handle. I mean, if that's not genius, I don't know what is. I mean, that adds a lot of heft to it, and it really makes it feel like a premium radio. And that's a pretty smart idea. It shows that they are looking to create a well-received product. All right, I'll get this guy back together. Okay, so we got this guy back together, and I'm telling you what, man, this is a really nice feeling radio. I love this soft touch material they have on the outside of it, but I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of missing something. It's missing that that grippiness, especially without a lanyard on there. I mean, not that you really need one because of the weight, but it's just missing some grip. Wait a second, I got an idea. All right, that feels way better. Oh, very nice, if I do say so myself. If you're interested in some of this grip tape for your BetaFPV LiteRadio, go ahead and check it out. I got a link to an Etsy store that sells this stuff. I heard the guy that creates it makes some really good products. Oh yeah, that's me, sorry. But yeah, anyways, that adds a ton of grip to the radio. The soft touch is nice, but it does get kind of slick after a while, and this stuff feels really good. All right, folks. Well, that's it. That's my basic overview of the BetaFPV radio. If you have any questions on how to bind or anything like that, it's all in the manual. It's pretty basic stuff. OpenTX is a little more difficult, but if there's anything you want to see about this radio or you have any questions about it, please put it down in the comments section below. I read every single one of them, and I would be more than happy to help anybody out with the questions that they have with this radio. Drop a like on this, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscription button down there. It really costs you nothing, and it really helps me out, helps out the channel. All right, folks, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you next time. Keep flying, especially if you got one of those little guys. Oh, love it. Bye.